Kia ora and welcome to Constellations and All That. I'm your host, Tracy Cartwright, and together we will be exploring the world of family constellations with facilitators and clients from around the world, looking at different perspectives and experiences in the work, having a cup of tea and just chatting with some friends around their experiences in constellations. We'd love for you to join us. I hope that you enjoy this series as much as I have loved making it. Kia ora, welcome everyone to Constellations and All That. Today I'm with Michael Quinn, who is a facilitator down in Palmerston North. So welcome, Michael.
Oh, thank you.
Let's just start off with a little bit about you before we get into constellations. A little bit about you. How would you introduce yourself?
How would I introduce myself? As a what? As a facilitator or as a person?
Either way.
Well, it started off, I was born in New Zealand and I left in 1989 after travelling around a bit and went to Australia. And while I was in Australia, I came back here a couple of times and went to England for a year, went to Switzerland for 6 months. And in 2007, I was sort of a bit out of sorts. I went to a medium in Browns Plains in Brisbane and we did the work, and she wrote down on a piece of paper what I had to do. And one of the things was Family Constellation. So 2 years later, I went to the Awakening Centre, which is run by Brenda Sutherland, who's also another Kiwi, but she's based in Australia.
Yeah.
And the Margareta Corning was there, and she had a 2-day training for holistic counsellors at the Awakening Centre. So I went along and did that. And then I came back to New Zealand and I did a constellation with Heike from Christchurch and Angelica from Auckland. Drifted around, did a little bit here and there, but 2014 I sort of thought I'd better do some work, and I did. And that's the year I trained.
Brilliant.
With Margareta Corning, of course. She seemed to be the one dragging me through.
So she's up in Malani, is that right?
She's in Malani, yeah, up behind the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So you're practicing constellations down in the Manawatu and through Palmerston North and live-in?
Well, I just started to live in. I got a lady down there. She's the twin sister of an old friend of mine who's dead now. But I didn't even know he had a twin sister until I met her one day. But she doesn't drive and she doesn't basically get around, and she wanted to try it. So last time I went down, she was sick, and this is my second time there.
Okay.
So she might come along this time.
Yeah. Brilliant. So if anyone's listening, you'll be in live-in
Next this Saturday.
this Saturday.
This Saturday,
Okay.
yeah, on the 12th.
Okay. Brilliant. So that's the 12th of October.
Yeah. So it's just a 4-hour one at a place called Te Mahana, I think the Te Mahana House.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is the old RSA site here.
Oh,
Yeah.
good to be moving some energy in those places too, hey?
Yeah, well, Levin's a funny little town. It's a bit like Foxton. They never seem to change.
Mm. I think been reading recently about, like the energy of places and how some facilitators actually constellate places. But I noticed that when I run workshops in certain places, there's a different energy. I mean, obviously everywhere has its own spaces, but some have a much heavier energy than others.
Well, it depends on what happened there, yeah.
Yeah, depends on what goes on in those venues and maybe even what the history of the land is.
Yes, we don't know what happened before. There might have been killings and all sorts there, yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
So,
Okay. So, for you as a facilitator, how would you describe family constellations to someone who didn't know anything about it if you were to give them some sort of description?
sort of description. That's the
It's a
hardest
hard one.
part, is trying to describe family constellation, because it's when you say people represent, they don't really know what representing is. And
Yeah.
representing is basically a heart or soul connection to the person that you're representing, and you actually get their thoughts. And that happened to me in 2009. Like I was standing in front of a woman, and I had to say to her, "I loved you so much." But to me, I didn't even know who this lady was. So why was I saying I loved you so much? And that's what came out of my mouth. And Margarita goes, "Yes," and she was wrapped because that sort of helped the constellation. So that was my first sort of look into that, where somebody else is using me as like a conduit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's to explain it to people. Sometimes it's hard for them to realize what it is all about. And once they step into that and they realize, some of them actually get a little bit addicted to that, and they come and they come and they come and they represent and they represent because it is.
It's a good way to do your work, though, isn't it? Like sometimes people don't actually get in the hot seat. They come and represent, and from that position of the representation, they're also working part of their own family system to a degree.
For sure,
They
yeah.
get a lot of insight where they with issues in their own family system.
Yeah, it is. It's like I was with Ingela in Sydney, and she represented. There was father, mother, oldest son, which was me. I've never been an oldest in my life. The middle child was a girl, and the youngest one. And she put me as in the place of the father to see what happened to the family, and she put the girl in the place of the mother with the father to see what happened to the family. All these different things to see what happened, and it affected me in a big way.
Yeah.
So the next day when I came, so I cried on the way on the train from the Blue Mountains to Sydney to do this the next day, and it was all about order in my family.
Wow. Yeah.
Because with mum dying so early, the whole family was skewed with it was everywhere. And even my old man, he's Irish, and he never went back to Ireland, so he stands there looking back. Always has done. He looks back at Ireland because that's where his heart is. Even though he came to this country and thought it was the best country in the world, his heart still belonged to his homeland.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand all that stuff. This work has helped me understand a lot more.
Yeah. When I'm describing it to people, I often say, like imagine, so it's an energetic thing and sharing about, it helps us to find or to find insight around what we're entangled with, maybe where we're out of order, but also I say, imagine if you were going to a party and you walked into the room and you knew instantly that there was a space in that room that you wanted to go to, and there was a space that you didn't want to go to. And that's that energetic pull. There's a thing, and that for me is how it feels like when you get into the field, you know where you need to stand. And it's just about trusting your body because people often say, well, if I don't know how to do this work, how would I even step in and do it? How would I know if I'm getting it right or wrong?
Well, there are people that you do the work for that still can't see what's happening in front of them. Like I had a lady that couldn't sleep, so we did some work, and she had a sister that died, and the sister that died on the floor, she knelt beside it and held its hand. The mother knelt on the other side and held the hand of the daughter. So the connection to her mum was her dead sister.
Yeah.
But she couldn't see that. She just couldn't see it. It was just like, and that's how it is.
Yeah.
Some people are very hard to show things, right? And sometimes it's their past too, like you look at where they come from. Like she comes from England originally. And the English people are very set in their ways. They are very set in their ways. So sometimes it's hard to turn them onto something new. And that's that loyalty thing too. Loyalty to family, loyalty to your conscience, all that stuff.
I wonder too if it's also, it could be another layer of that could be that it's not the right time for them to see it.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And maybe it's there and it will imprint and they will have a light bulb moment later on.
Well, that's what I told her. I said, you're looking at it from adult. You have to look back to that little child.
Mm,
and she went away, and she hasn't talked to me about it since. So.
yeah.
But yeah, that's basically how it is. You have to win some, lose some. But 90% of the time, you don't do any wrong. There's something happens.
Yeah.
Because that same lady originally came because her daughter was taking her grandchildren away and wouldn't let her see them. And after she did that one, the grandchildren are now back in her life.
Mm,
So that one,
yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The different layers and the different complexities of things, and how sometimes it shifts really quickly.
Yeah.
I remember one constellation that I had for myself, and like within a couple of days, things were moving. I'd shifted in myself, but then in my family system, I saw things moving really quickly.
Yeah.
And then I've had other constellations where I'm thinking, okay. Or maybe they're just moving in a different pace. That it's
things you can't see. That's it.
not so cut and dry. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very, very dynamic work, and I suppose depending on the layers that you're dealing with, like if you're going back a long way, it's a lot more work to ensure to get back to you. Right?
Mm, yeah. And you work a lot with the heart.
I only work with the heart. I've done a lot of study. I studied with heartmath.org and from Velo Melchizedek. People don't know about him, but he has a meditation. Takes you to the sacred space in your heart on YouTube if you wish to go there.
What's his name, sorry?
John Velo Melchizedek.
John Velo Melchizedek.
If you type in DRUNVALO, it'll come up. So he'll give you and he says it's easier for women to go to the sacred space in their heart than men, because they have a natural aspect to it where we need a roadmap.
Mm.
Men their hearts are not the same as a woman's heart.
Mm.
And I think it comes back from the old days when we were hunting. And if one of our friends got killed in the hunt, we couldn't stop and go, and mourn. We had to carry on with the hunt, then come back and do it. Right? And that's still taught us. I think that's part of our system still now. We still have that embedded in us from ancient times.
Mm.
So that's just how it is. We have ways around it, but it just works. That's all. Always works.
Yeah. It's very easy for us, isn't it? When we're little to see our parents' pain and want to pick it up. And
Oh, everybody does.
if they're stuck in their trauma, and maybe that's multiple traumas, then it's, there's a part of us that wants to get bigger and wants to mother our mothers or mother our fathers.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Well, I know for a fact that I've been working with me and my dad, been working for a long time, and there's still work to do. And I know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've got children to different ladies. So my oldest son lives here in New Zealand. My youngest son lives in Australia. And I've never really met. But I've got to work with the oldest son so the youngest one can be comfortable. Because the youngest ones can't get to the father unless they go through the older ones. That's that order stuff.
Is that just boys, or you're referring to boys and girls, like the whole
Well,
family?
I don't know. I haven't really done it with girls, but I'd say it'd be the same with girls. Always the oldest is the oldest. But you can with girls because they got a different heart thing. Sometimes you can get the young ones to get to their mother anyway. They will make the effort. Where the boys are a little bit more standoffish. And I did some work recently with a lady, and her husband had a son to another woman, and her two sons would look at their father, wouldn't go near him until the oldest son got brought into the picture. And when he went to his father, the other two could as well. And that's where I learnt this stuff, just by watching them.
Yeah.
So for some reason, the oldest has to be in the picture.
It's interesting because I'm just like, these little things are dropping into some things that I know about my extended family system. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, it's very much in my stuff too. Like I've got an adopted older brother.
Yeah.
He's found his real family, but he doesn't really signify with them. He's still very loyal to mine. and I've never done any work with him because he's older. He's in his 80s now. So I leave him with it. But he's very loyal to my mum, very loyal to my dad.
Mm.
And that's, I just, because I tried to talk to him once about it, but he got upset.
Yeah.
He just,
Yeah, this person has to be willing to do it, right? They have to be
Yeah.
willing to, there has to be some desire to do some work. Otherwise, because sometimes I have people that send their husbands along, you know, they've had a great experience with me.
Oh, yeah. No,
And
it
then
doesn't
they
work.
send their husbands along, and it's really awkward. So now I actually stop them and I say,
Yeah.
no, that person has to ring me to book in. You can't book your partner in.
Yeah. No,
Um,
it's not
they have to ring me
not a
and they
good
have
thing.
to want to do it.
Yeah.
Hey.
Men don't do this work too well. Yeah, and if you do get men coming, you do really well. I've got a guy down in Cavity. He's a great representative, one of the best. But he doesn't come all the time because his house sits and he ends up all over the countryside. But when Tony comes, it's like having a dream person there because he plays every role well and he enjoys it. He should become I've always talked to him, he should be facilitating this stuff because he's very, very good at representing. But so I sort of miss him when he doesn't turn up because I don't get many men along.
Yeah, I've got a group of men coming too. And I know you shared an exercise with me, which I'm looking forward to doing with them. And then sitting with that thought this morning about this, you know, because it's a large group of men and no women that are going to be in this apart from myself. And sitting with, well, where do I take this? But trusting the field, trusting the right things will show up, and that just honoring that they're receptive to even consider coming along. So
Yeah, you can get them to represent women and show them what it feels like.
yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Who is interesting to represent a woman?
Well, yeah, and the same and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
I
Well,
represented
it is good for women to represent men, yeah.
yeah, I remember once representing a young teenage boy. Oh, that was interesting. Hormones, like just felt like I was things were pinging around inside me, and I was like a little bit of a feel the hormones surging. We'll say that. And then another time I represented an elderly gentleman who was a bit frisky, and his wife was actually her constellation, and I just said to her, "Ooh, I'm feeling it," and she's like, yep, that's him."
That's it, yeah.
And then you get guys in the field who are experiencing their pukus expanding because they're holding space for maybe a grandmother who's lost a baby, and they can feel that pain in the belly, you know, like because often I've experienced when I stand in the place of someone who's had a pregnancy or lost a baby, then often the tummy goes into that space of feeling pregnant. And then you get a guy in that experience. It's an it's an eye opener for them. Yeah, just to
Well,
experience.
Helen always said the belly was sometimes to do with the mother. If you can't let your mother go, you hold her in your belly. And if you don't treat her right, you hold her in your belly. That was one of his. But that goes back a bit. He changed a lot. A lot of things that he said back in the early days have changed as he got older.
Well,
Even about abortion, and the original abortion thing he said was an abomination because he's an ex-Catholic priest. But as he got more involved into it, he found out that it wasn't. That's when he started saying there's only good parents and good children. There's no bad parents and no good children. That's all that was his stuff in the end. There's only good parents and good children.
yeah, and it evolves, doesn't it? This work is constantly
it
evolving
evolves.
as well.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Any other words of advice or anything you'd like to share to the listeners or the viewers?
Well, if you want to facilitate, you've got to do the work. One bit of advice: you have to do the work on yourself, or else you never become a great facilitator. You might become a so-so one. You might become like a, I don't know, like a half a one.
Because otherwise you get blind spots, eh?
No.
You get
But
blind spots
it's things
if
you
don't do
can't
your
do.
own
You
work.
can't do things because they're hard for you to look at. Hurt your heart to look at them. I remember when I first went to Burnery, and I did a constellation, and it was with a guy with an addiction, and I couldn't look at his addiction, and I was a facilitator. So that's something I had to work on. And then we had to, we did an exercise with you and the stuff you don't want to look at. And mine was off here and I was looking that way. And by the end of the exercise, I was hugging it. And it taught me that it was just a basic, something about my own addictive state, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at my own addictions.
It's a gene, right?
But yeah, it's true. If you don't do the work, you can't actually finish. Because I know a lady I know in Caboolture, and she went and did a facilitator training. And I heard that she started doing some facilitating and she couldn't finish Constellations, and that's part of her stuff too. Her stuff is big. I had to tell her after about a year that she couldn't do any more Constellations. It was the same stuff every time. And I said after about a year, I said, we need to give it a break. Because she wasn't learning anything from anything.
Yeah.
And that's just her stuff. Hers was big stuff too. So, yeah.
And that's the thing I love about Constellations is that it actually, my experience in it has been, it allows the big stuff to be there in a space that, well, it allows all stuff to be there in a space that feels safe. That's been my experience. And what I've witnessed in the work for the shifting of how much we can shift in one constellation session versus the time that I spent doing other sort of modalities or therapies and stuff like that. So I think because it's energetic, it's you feel it in your cells, you feel it in your heart, things line up within you and around you, and it just...
Yeah, I'm following this guy called the Human Garage at the moment, and he talks about...
Me too.
So everything is stored in your muscles, everything. And it's true, because after a big constellation, you feel like you played a game of football. You do. You're sore as, and it's because everything is being released, and your muscles had to change.
Yeah.
All that stuff you're holding on to is gone, so you actually feel that released. So it's quite interesting how he talks about that.
I recommend you go and have some body work.
Yeah, no, I'd like to go and see him, but he's too far away.
Maybe reach out to him. He seems
Well,
like he
I've
would...
been doing some of his exercises, so they do work.
Yeah, I have been too. I quite like the tongue twist. Have you tried that?
I haven't tried that yet, no. I
did it on myself. There was one of the guys showed how to do it on yourself, because there's a video of him doing it on others, and that was actually quite amazing. Just the way it feels, you feel a lot straighter and more connected right down to your pelvis.
They say your tongue connects to your toe all the way down to your body. Yeah. Have you done the hair one yet? Resetting the skull? You got to twist your hair, and because I can't do it.
I was going to say, how are you going to do that?
Yeah, I can't. You got to sort of grab it and twist it like that.
Just grab the scalp. Yeah. Good to talk to you, Michael. Thank you for taking the time to share your wisdom, your knowledge, and I'm going to try and get this out in the next couple of days so that the listeners, and if there's anyone around your area that might like to come and participate in your workshop.
Well, I've got 2 psychiatrists, 1 counsellor, and PhD Larry Hodney coming.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's sort of a lot of people to what are they? I don't know what they're coming for. I'm very worried about psychiatrists and counsellors, because they come
to do their work, maybe, because...
Well, they come with their own baggage, don't they? They come with their own little bag of goodies.
Well, we all have that, don't we? How big's your suitcase, really, or how big's your backpack?
No, I'm talking about their work bags.
Oh.
Yeah, their work bags. They bring their work bags with them.
So if someone wants to get hold of you, I will put the links in, but I won't invite you to share it here. If they want to get hold of you, they find you on Facebook.
They do. They find me on Michael Quinn Family Constellation.
Brilliant.
Okay, you go there, and my number's there, and whatever else you need from me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michael.
That's all right.
Have a brilliant day.
You too.
It's been great to talk to you.
No worries.
Thank you for listening. head over to Instagram and tell me what's resonated for you with this episode. You'll find me at tracy.cartwright. That's Tracy with no E. .cartwright. Or head over to my website, tracycartwright.co.nz, and receive a free audio with the gift from your ancestors. So until next time, be kind to yourself and have fun doing it.